So, do you want to just all introduce yourselves first off, what you do in the band?
Who's going first?
I'll go first. I'm Colin. I'm on the drums. I've got the easy job.
John, guitar and vocals.
I'm Steve. I'm bass and a bit of vocals as well.
Okay, and we're missing one, aren't we?
Yeah, Dave, our guitar genius.
Okay, so and what's the story behind the Guillotines then?
Well, punk rock band, you know, anti-fascist, anti-sexist, anti-establishment, anti-everything, very much. Kind of really was, you know, write songs that are pretty political. That's what comes naturally to us. Anyone else?
It started with you and Steve, though, didn't it?
Aye, me and Steve
You're
met
the-
online, started talking away, and then went for a jam, found Dave and Colin online as well, and I think we all finally got all together. Was it December or something last year?
Yep.
Roughly, by the time we all actually came together.
I guess it was one of these situations where that we were all sort of musicians looking for a band, just looking for something. In my own personal situation, I've played in loads of different bands, but nobody was really interested in sort of taking it that next step further. So, you know, that's why John and I got together. We were on the same wavelength musically, you know, we knew we wanted to do. Then I was just trying to find two other guys with the same mindset that could, you know, put everything together. And, you know, I think we were extremely lucky that, you know, the stars aligned and, you know, Colin and Dave sort of joined on board shortly after, and just we got together. The songs just all kind of happened. I think it happened fairly quickly as well. All the songs just sort of came, and everybody just put their contribution into the mix. And you know, it's one of these situations where it's an absolute pleasure going to rehearse because it's so much fun because the songs are really good, and we just get such a buzz out of playing them.
You never know what's going to. You never know what's going to come out.
And not being able to rehearse for, what was it, 6 months nearly, was a killer. It was torture. But yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Relatively new, aren't you? So all this would have gotten in the way of that.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, lockdown happened 2 weeks after we recorded our EP. The week after we were supposed to play our first gig, but that got cancelled because of the virus.
Yeah.
So, that was a pain.
It's been good in a lot of ways because it's allowed us to spend time writing these new songs, or trying to write the new songs, and you know, and finish them and get them recorded. So if we've been doing a lot of gigs, we might not had the same amount of time to do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've been working from home.
Positives.
Sorry?
You got to think of the positives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed.
There's definitely positives there.
Yeah, because my day job's IT, I've been working at home since lockdown, so it's when I'm not doing stuff, it's like I'll pick up the guitar and Steve will pick up the guitar or bass and send a riff over, and I'll send him lyrics back and you'll send us lyrics, and you know, kind of kept it going that way. And then letting Colin and Dave sort of hear rough demos of them once I recorded them in the wee home studio nonsense.
So,
Home studio tracks are good.
Thanks.
Yeah, they're good.
it's amazing what you can do at home now.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I spoke to someone the other day who did their new single all on their phone,
Right.
which I thought was quite impressive. So
I guess it's all the technology, isn't it? I mean, you know, I was checking out all these apps you can get, and they're fantastic. You're using technology on your phone that would have cost you tens of thousands of pounds, you know, a decade ago. So it's absolutely fantastic. And it maybe takes a little bit of the skill out writing songs away because, you can just do it.
anyone can do
Independent.
it now.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones that are actually doing a lot of work from home. I was actually listening to an interview with Elton John yesterday, and that's what he's been doing. He can't do any gigs, so he's been away recording stuff and doing collaborations with other people. So that's, everyone's found a different route to get the music out there, and it's allowed us to create some new stuff. So it's a good thing in a way.
Yeah.
So have you always had this passion for music, or?
I didn't really get into music till I was about 13. Was when I started to listen to punk rock music. You know, The Offspring came out, and for then on, I think Napster was shortly afterwards, so I was downloading lots of things, trying to expand the horizons. When Green Day were a big band for me initially as well, it's kind of evolved into more the heavier melodic stuff as well. So bands like No Use for a Name, Anti-Flag, Rise Against, that kind of thing, kind of grew more into recently.
I was about the same age, mate, when I started getting into music, about 12, 13. But in those days, it was all in vinyl, so you went away to the shop and you bought a record and rushed away up the road to listen to it in your wee record player. How times have changed.
I bought my dad a vinyl record player because he's got that many vinyls and nothing to play them on.
Nice.
I'd be delighted with that.
How
It
about
does
you?
seem a hard work though. It seems a lot of hard work these days when you put an album on and you play half of it and then you've got to turn it over. You can just go to Spotify and
Yeah.
listen to music forever.
How about you, Steve?
Me, well, grew up into sort of music. My brother's nearly 60 now, so he was right at the punk peak when I was a kind of kid. So he had a bit of an influence with the kind of bands that he was bringing back home in vinyl. Susie and the Banshees, Sex Pistols, The Clash, The Damned, Exploited, and Queen. So there was a kind of a mix going on there. So I sort of really got into that kind of music, and then by the time I really kind of found my feet with music, it was sort of like the mid-80s, and thrash metal was all the big things. So I had the big long hair, I was into Slayer and Metallica and that sort of stuff. And then that kind of snowballed back away again from punk. So it was punk, thrash, and back to punk. I've got such an eclectic taste in music, like everything from ABBA to classical music. There's no sort of genre I don't particularly like other than modern music. I don't like dance music and any of that kind of stuff, but my sort of some of the work that I do a lot of music photography, so I'm lucky enough to kind of go and tour with bands and go and photograph bands, and a lot of these bands they're kind of like personal favourites of mine, so it's quite a humbling experience to go and do a photo shoot with a band that you love and you've got posters on your bedroom wall growing up. So that was kind of cool for me. So that kind of opened up a few doors and allowed me to meet a lot of interesting people, and then it just sort of harnessed in me that when I'm photographing a band on stage, I really had this desire to be on the stage. So, I just took it to that next level of playing bands, but now it's like, well, let's do it for real. Let's really make a go of it and just kind of move forward and, let nature take its course.
Brilliant. And do you think all these different styles that you used to listen to, that's what's had an influence on your music now?
I think so. I mean, I like a lot of Bob Dylan and a lot of country music, Dolly Parton, Hank Williams. So, like the Stranglers, so a lot of the kind of bass riffs that I come up with, quite, J.J. Burnell orientated. I don't think about it at the time, but when I listen to them afterwards, I kind of think, yeah, that's quite, you can start to assign where you might have got your influence from.
And so I suppose recently you've had your songs played on the radio quite a bit. SLE. How does it feel to get acknowledged for that?
It's ridiculously cool. I don't think it still doesn't seem quite real that somebody actually has taken a song that we've written and put it on the radio station, and I'm listening to it and it's not me playing it. You know what I mean? It's just it's surreal.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling when that's something that you've done.
I suppose, well, being as you can't do the live performances, it's people are still getting to hear you.
Yeah. At least we recorded the EP just at the right time then. Or we've been stuck with nothing for 6 months before we even get back in the studio.
Hopefully, we can get the LP done as well.
Aye, hopefully.
All within this lockdown period now.
We're due to go and record this weekend, providing my wee one's corona test doesn't come back positive. So,
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed.
As long as Nicola leaves us alone.
Aye, that too.
Well, I suppose moving on from that a little bit, musicians used to have this love-hate relationship with the internet, or the power of the internet. People stealing songs all the time and all that. But do you think that's changed now with the current situation with COVID? It seems to be getting a lot more attention.
Yeah, I mean, from back in the day when it first started, it was all file sharing, so you weren't getting anything. I thought all those Spotify's royalties are pretty much nothing. It's kind of weird. It's like it's legal now to have your stuff up on there, and people listen to it for free, and you get, I think, what is it, 0.0002 pence per stream, something ridiculous like that. At the moment, you know, we're not going to be making money anyway. We're a punk band. It's more just about getting the songs out there for people to listen to and hopefully enjoy.
The music industry's changed beyond all recognition. You know, there's no money in it now, and there's no way you can protect your music. It's, as soon as you put it on the internet, it's free. You know, everybody's got it, so you just need to live with that and just go on with it and do it because you enjoy it. You're not going to make a fortune out of it.
Sort of the climate has really changed. You know, back in the day, you know, it was CDs, vinyl, cassettes. That's where bands made their money. They toured as well. That was great. But you found bands stopped touring for a while. They were kind of getting most of their income through selling their music. But then when Napster and these things took off, music was free, so it kind of forced bands to have to go back out on the tour to make up the deficit that they made, you know, with the lack of sales. But now the situation is that, you know, right before COVID happened, obviously a lot of bands were touring. I mean, bands like the UK Subs, they're probably one of the hardest working bands around. I mean, they tour, you know, 300 shows a year. You know, they're constantly on the road, constantly doing stuff. And you find that with punk bands, a lot of these bands will tour constantly. They'll play all around the UK, Europe and abroad, and that's fantastic. But the bigger bands, they're only interested in the kind of stadium tours and that kind of stuff. You know, they're making a big money. But especially in punk rock, the only way to make money is basically to get souls into venues. And obviously that's got a huge impact right now with COVID. There's also a situation where a lot of people feel that money's not being dispersed equally from the government to help smaller venues, to help certain types of music. It seems to be that maybe money's going to certain other locations, you know, the more classic sort of forms of entertainment, ballet, opera, these types of things.
So big organisations behind them, so they've got big organisations behind them, so they're protected and they've got a voice, whereas the smaller, you know, individual bands and people like that, we just don't have a voice. There's no way you're going to get anything out of them.
Yeah. I think it's places like, I think there's a Cat House and the Garage have repurposed as bars so they could open between us coming out of lockdown the first time and then places like that shutting again. And because they did that, they now don't qualify for the government grant that was released to help places that hadn't been open since March, which is ridiculous. So, because they can't pay their people, they can't bring people in because they're forced to shut by the government. They tried to open again so they could at least pay their staff, and now they're being penalised for it. So, it's, what can you do?
You can't win.
Yeah.
And on a happier note, though, you do have a live gig next year.
We do, yes. Fingers crossed. Bannerman's in Edinburgh. It's an all-dayer with JG. What's the name of the promoter again?
Gibby.
That's his name. What's his company? Is it GG or G something like that? Promotions. They're doing it. It's us. And about 10 other bands. I think Happy Spastics are playing. Cutting Edge, and for the life of me, I can't remember the rest of the bands.
I'll have a look at that. I suppose back to this serious bit. I'm a huge advocate for mental health, and obviously, like with lockdown and stuff, people losing their jobs, people losing money. You know, it's bound to have a negative effect. So, do you have any words of wisdom to help people through this difficult time?
I don't know.
It's beyond words, isn't it? It's
I know.
what you say, you know?
I mean, mental health is something that I take quite seriously as well, because I know people very close to me that have had issues with it, and it's so hard if you're stuck in the house. I mean, even you just say for a new mother stuck in the house, it's hard enough with a baby, but now you've got all of this on top of it, and you can't go out, you can't meet people, you can't socialise. It does leave you at the end of your tether. I mean, I had to do it a couple of weeks ago for 2 weeks, and it was just annoying. You know, you can't leave the house because somebody went into the nursery with it, and it's torture, knowing that you can't see anything other than the four walls in your house.
Especially now at this time of year, even more so because the weather's horrible. You can't even go out into the garden and enjoy a couple of hours in the garden. You know, you're stuck indoors, and the TV's crap.
I mean, now as well, we're sort of like, you know, it's Halloween coming up, but then it's a very narrow window between Halloween and Christmas. And that's the time when people want to see their family, they want to see their friends, they want to get out. And I think all year people have been looking forward to Christmas. And it seems to be that the media are portraying Christmas might not happen this year. So that's going to have a negative impact in people's well-being. So I really hope that, you know, Christmas does go ahead and people can spend time with their family and their loved ones. And I hope the media can lay off the negativity, because I find when people would go online to look at the news or they watch the television, the news seems to be more speculation than actual reporting facts. And that's the way they go on. And that's really screws with people's minds. I mean, it screws with mine because you want to know the facts. You don't want to know what somebody thinks or puts a spin on it for some political agenda. You want to know the facts. So, you know, I really hope they kind of turn that around and they put out some good positive news that people can sort of gravitate to as a wee glimmer of hope.
I don't think that's going to happen, Stevie. I think they're...
We can.
We can only hope, though.
I'm ever the optimist.
The news channels are lost to me. I mean, you're right. That's exactly what they're doing. You know, they put their own spin on it. They try to make news instead of just reporting news, and it's a horrible situation.
Yeah, I didn't like the term they came out and said there's going to be a digital Christmas this year. What the fuck does that even mean, a digital Christmas? No, it's just crazy. It's nuts, you know. And, you know, obviously I think people should obey the rules that are set out, you know, in their geographical area. You know, I don't think people should flaunt them and go to parties or say, well, screw you, I'm going to do this. You know, I think it's only sensible to do, you know, what you're being advised to do, because you don't want to get yourself in trouble or end up hurting somebody else by passing infection on. But I really think that, you know, if people want to sort of, you know, try to have a positive mental outlook, you know, I think maybe they should check out, you know, in their local community if there is any sort of online help that people can get, if there's any sort of, you know, support network, a support group through Facebook or any of the social media platforms where people who are stuck inside can sort of have that kind of interaction, albeit on computers.
I think that's pretty good advice right there. So,
It's very difficult to know, to give someone advice on mental health issues because they're so wide and varied, and if you don't know a person, personally, then you can't have any idea what they're going through or what they're thinking. It's hard to give some mental. Yeah.
Well, talking of messages, what songs, your songs, what messages do they portray? Like I've seen Bojo the Clown and the album.
That was pretty much on the nose.
Yeah, Have a guess what that's about.
I'm sure Boris has heard about Bojo the Clown. I'm sure he's
I've
probably
tagged him in it so many times on Twitter.
Yeah.
Maybe dances to it at home. You never
He
know.
probably doesn't realise it's about him.
Somebody's written a song about me. Oh, hey.
He's seen the cover and goes, that kind of looks like me. Can it be? No.
Is that a handsome devil there? He's nice.
Aye.
So,
You've got to be thick-skinned to be a politician. I'm sure it doesn't bother him.
no. Well, he's
That's
had a lot of
something,
sick recently, so I'm sure it's the least of his worries.
Yeah.
But what kind of message do you and your songs want to portray?
Just trying to sort of get across that, we don't have to put up with the crap that's going on now. There is surely something, these people are democratically elected. We should be able to remove them if we don't like them. They're not above the law, which they seem to think they are. They're not above the people who put them there in the first place.
They remove them every 4 years, but they're just replaced by another crowd. They're just the same.
What you have to do is get away from career politicians, people that are bred especially to go to these, Eton, these types of places, and they're kind of prepped for this life as being a
They've
politician.
got no experience of life.
Exactly. You haven't got the necessary skill set to do that. What I would like to see is somebody living in universal credits, for example, could be a single parent who have got to manage a very small budget and bring up a family on that. I would like to see them take the reins, give somebody like that the opportunity, to run the country, because they know how much a pint of milk costs. These people don't. They've got all these, ever worked for has been handed to them in a plate. They don't know what it's like to fight for it. We get these people making the decisions that affect people like us, and it's just not fair.
No.
I think the decisions are tough. It's not as easy as it sounds to be a politician. I suppose you've got to try and keep everybody happy. But yeah, we change them every 4 years, and we just get more of the same every 4 years. It's disappointing.
Yeah.
Democracy.
Indeed.
Well, it's better than no democracy, but
yeah.
I
There
mean,
you
what
go.
echoed in America as well, with Trump. Recently, there was I think it was a Senate meeting where there was all these white middle-aged men sitting making decisions that affect women's health. Now, there wasn't one woman on that panel. There was no female representation, but you had all these white middle-class men making these decisions. And it's just sort of typical of politics all around the world. It's these types of people that make the decisions that are supposed to help the masses, but they don't. It's just not, the people that are making the decisions are not reflective of the people in society.
Yeah, it's a bunch of rich old white men telling everybody else what's best for them.
And I guess what we do is we just sort of write songs about it,
Yeah.
Some of the songs can be quite tongue-in-cheek. We've got a new song called Watchers of Black Tower, and it's kind of about this fictitious organisation called Black Tower who monitor everything. They monitor what you're looking at on your computer, they're bugging your phone, they're sort of, stealing your information and all your data. So the song's kind of told from the point of view, sort of, almost like advising or warning the people that we're looking at what you're doing, so be careful. And that's kind of what it's like in society. I don't know how many times you go on your computer, your phone, you maybe see a couple of words, next minute you've got these adverts streaming in for your computer.
Yep.
And that happens all the time. So to me, that's like the Watchers of Black Tower watching you.
Yeah. And they claim it's because it's like, because you've looked something up online, or somebody you know has looked something up online. It's like, well, no, I've just mentioned to my wife that I need a drink. And then I've got an advert for Pepsi on Facebook. And you're like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's happened to me a few times. It's quite scary. I'm not gonna lie, it's terrifying.
Yeah. And the second song in the EP is The Starving Millions, which kind of, again, seems to be quite current at the moment, even though it was written last year with, you know, all the MPs deciding, oh, we're not going to feed the kids over the October break. Why? You know, it costs you less to do that than to do the Eat Out to Help Out scheme that you did. You know, there's no justifiable reason why you couldn't feed hungry kids for a week while they're not at school. You know?
Don't get me started on that one.
Oh, it's infuriating.
It is, but it's the world we live in. So,
Indeed.
on a lighter note, is there anything we can look forward to that you're working on?
Well, if a couple of weeks, we will be, within the next month at least, hopefully, we'll be recording the full album, which will have the 4 tracks from the Bojo the Clown EP and then 9 new ones that haven't been heard yet. So that'll be hopefully good for you guys. Scary for us, probably.
They're all coming together.
Yeah.
Good, and then you've got hopefully the live thing next year, which I'll grab the details after this.
Cool. Hopefully more gigs to come as well, because I mean it's hard. You try and contact promoters to see if they're doing anything now, and they're not. Or we're rebooking shows from this year for next year, so we're not looking for anything now. You know. So
yeah, everything's off. Everything's switched off at the moment. It's just we just need to wait until things will start livening up again and gigs start coming alive, because there's nothing at all just now.
Well, hopefully. I miss the live gigs, I do.
yeah, it's torture not being able to go to gigs.
I mean, I guess what we've been doing is we've been filling this time by writing songs, sort of perfecting the songs we've already got in our repertoire. And, you know, once we get this new album recorded, sort of, you know, what we'll probably do is start to get some new music videos worked around some of those songs as well. So we've got some more media. So hopefully sort of early 2021, when the new album comes out, we're going to be hitting out with a few different music videos as well. So hopefully that will gain people's attention. And then once things are ready to start getting back into full swing again with the live shows, then hopefully that'll be a bit of a catalyst for us. And that'll help.
Maybe they'll be heard of us and they'll be wanting to come and see us.
Yeah.
Of course they will. And then before I say my goodbyes, because I've got a little child downstairs that's tired and stuff. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Specifically?
Right, so yeah, we covered a lot. I'll grab all your social media links and all the places people can get your singles, listen to, and all that. And yeah, thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Right, thanks very much for having us.